Made for the money, tacked on plot holes, stretching ideas thin, and just too many remakes in general. These are several of many reasons why your sequel is going to suck. You're better off just making your own adaptation of a movie. But if you don't know already, us and people are talking about video game sequels, and you're listening to the Son of a Geek podcast.
Son of a Geek!
Podcast.
I'm your glorious host, Spencer, and these are my two not quite so glorious, but still glorious in their own way co-hosts. One has a beard that smells of Cheez-Its and shame, while the other has no enemies, but is intensely disliked by all of his friends. It's Tolan Zio. How's it going, guys?
Great, Spen. Fan-diddly-tastic.
I couldn't remember if I used that second one yet. I might have.
You didn't? I have lots of enemies, so I think we know who has the shame.
Oh, wow. Welcome back, gentlemen. How's your week been going?
It's good to be back.
Oh, that's right. Zio, you've returned. It was a week without you.
Have returned for all of those who are worried.
It was a really good week.
And for those of you who wanted us to keep Thane on, well, sorry.
Yeah, we don't like him enough.
No, we're contractually obligated, really.
So thank you, Thane the intern, for joining us last podcast. It was great to have you.
Thin turn.
Thin turn.
Fantastic. Thank you, Thane. Thank you for
You did a spin-tastic job.
For filling the Zio spot, even though you are not as glorious.
So we're talking sequels of video games. The best, the worst, the in-between. By the end of this podcast, we're going to have a distinct idea of what the worst sequel is and the best sequel is of all time. We're probably all going to disagree with each other, but we're going to come down
in unison.
Or agree in unison.
In unison?
I can already tell you right now, I disagree with one of the ones that they're going to talk about, but I don't even know if we're going to talk about it. I think it was just told it said it was a sequel, but we were both like, not quite a sequel.
I have already forgotten, so.
Yeah,
we're talking about Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. Yeah, not a sequel.
It's not a sequel.
It's not a sequel.
Yep. That's all right. So we're in unison.
You're the one who said it was a sequel, Spend.
No, I said it wasn't a sequel.
You said it was a sequel. Told you said it was a sequel.
Yeah.
And then we're like, no, it's not a sequel. And then I said Majora's Mask is a sequel.
He brought it up claiming it as a sequel. I agree with him.
No.
He did.
No,
we didn't.
I said there were a whole bunch of lists on my research where it was like fan-generated ones where basically you would just go and type the name of a game and vote for it. And so a whole bunch of people just voted on Ocarina of Time and boosted it up. So it's like number 3 on the top 10's website of best video game sequels.
Well, if you're counting another game released under the same heading as a sequel, then it is a really good sequel. I don't count games like that.
He's calling it a sequel again.
I'm not counting it as a sequel. It is just another Zelda game.
Yeah, but it's not a sequel.
Since they released the timeline, you could consider it a continuation of a story, but I don't.
Nope.
See, we never finished that part of the conversation when we were talking before because you said to save it for the podcast. So now you're attacking me, and that's not fair.
Really, I just waited for you guys to start talking, and then I jumped into the intro, and then I'll just cut your guys' audio out after.
No, you won't.
No, I will. I do a little bit of editing for this.
No, you don't.
No, I do. I cut out some of like the big drawn out things, and then there's some moments where I'm like, Zio just sounds like garbage, and I just like remove those segments and just replace them with us.
Yeah, I noticed that none of your audio ever gets cut.
Thanks, Ben.
No, none of my. Toll, I'm the host of the podcast. I'm amazing. Why would I cut out any of mine? Besides, the only stuff that I ever cut out is just stuff where you send me notes after. It's like, Spencer, cut this out, or you mute it for us right now in Discord, and later you're like, Spencer, you gotta cut this out. So technically, at those moments, I cut out your stuff.
I'm sorry, are you still talking?
Yeah, I never stop. So sequels, really good ones. Let's start with. Do we want to start with the good ones or the bad ones?
We should start with bad ones. I think bad ones would be more fun to start with, and then we can segue into the good ones, and then we can just kind of gush about it.
In that case, the worst video game sequel I've ever heard of, and I never managed to play past the first level of, Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness.
Never played it. Is that an older one?
It's terrible. It was like the 3rd or 4th game in the series, and they tried to make it all gritty and edgy, but it controlled like absolute ass.
Was that like the original ones that came out on like the PlayStation or PlayStation 2 or whatever it was?
Yeah, it was like PlayStation.
Okay, yeah, I never played that one. I'll have to check that one out then. What was so bad about it besides the gritty stuff?
Just it controlled like utter shite.
No, that doesn't sound... Well, I mean, even the first one had awkward controls.
Right, but the first one had awkward, clunky controls, but the environments were designed around the controls to make it work, make it sort of fit. The puzzles were designed with those controls in mind. This one, it had smaller, more compacted environments with similarly clunky controls. So it didn't work nearly as well. It was horribly ineffective. And the game doesn't even tell you how to play it as you're playing through.
Oh, okay.
And although it has been a while since I played it, so I might be misremembering. Smiley, fact check that for us. But no, I couldn't even get past the first level because the controls were so bad and so loose. I couldn't get anywhere.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Because if it's anything like as you're saying, and they just made it a step down from the very first one, then yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one being pretty bad. Because I mean, the first one, like when the Tomb Raider first came out, it was pretty clunky and uncomfortable, but it was something new that really hadn't been done like that before. So I think people were able to see past it. And by the sounds of it, they probably improved on it a little bit in the other games. But then this one, it was probably just one of those classic, like, well, we want to make some more money, or it was rushed or something. And
I mean, they did make it edgy, but the story made no sense. The gameplay was so bad, and it just wasn't engaging, really. It was pretty. In a still frame, it was pretty.
It was still frame.
But it was not fun to play at all.
Okay.
You want to know what I think the worst sequel of all time is?
What?
The Wii U.
No!
It is a terrible sequel to the Wii.
No, it's not. Get out of here, Zio. We got to talk about how awesome was last podcast.
I know.
Great.
Disqualified, not a sequel.
It is a sequel.
No, nope.
How's it a sequel?
Sequels have to do with narratives.
All it did was continue the console, the exact same console, just added a tablet.
Then Zio, in this regard, if we're gonna consider the Wii U a sequel, then we have to consider Ocarina of Time a sequel as well.
Okay.
Oh, dang it. Not gonna happen.
No, I gotta throw a wrench in here. Sequels have to do with continuing narratives. There's no narrative to consoles.
No. There was a narrative to the Wii console. It was a console that changed a generation. It became the biggest family console of all time, and the Wii U tried to ride that glory and failed.
Okay. Well, no.
Yeah,
it didn't try.
It did.
Whatever. Zio, we're not talking. That's not a sequel, so we're not talking about this podcast.
It has to do with official established narratives.
It's an official established narrative. It's history. This is our world's narrative.
Zio.
It's Nintendo's narrative.
La, 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 la.
That's all right. The Switch is a fantastic sequel.
It's not a sequel.
It's not a sequel.
All right. I would like to hereby now and forever declare for the rest of this podcast, consoles don't count as sequels.
All right. Well, if we're not going to count consoles, then I guess I'm going to talk about a different game.
I hate you so much right now. But please continue. Please.
Okay. I'm going to say a game I really didn't enjoy was Resident Evil 5. I thought that was a pretty terrible sequel.
Number 5.
I actually enjoyed RE5, but then again, I hadn't really played many of the other ones because I couldn't get my head around the clunky controls. So
then you should play the other ones because they're way better than 5.
Well, because
are you talking about environment, story, gameplay?
Yes.
Because again, I couldn't get into any of the ones prior to 5 because the controls were so clunky.
I mean, clunky how? Because like the
clunky,
first two...
like I couldn't get anything done and couldn't get past the first level because I couldn't get the controls to cooperate.
Now, is it the controls toll or was it you?
We've had this conversation.
It very well could have been lack of experience with the controls, but if the controls were designed to be difficult to use, then I say that's clunky.
Okay.
Well, it's weird because of all the Resident Evil games, number 6 is what I've seen pop up on a few lists of the worst sequels.
Number 6 is deemed pretty bad, but there is some redeeming qualities to 6. 6 can be fun when you play with friends. And Leon's story is pretty all right in number 6.
See, but I haven't once seen Resident Evil 5 as on the list. Which
5 is the one that had Chris and Shether, right?
I'm also not necessarily following a list. I'm just as a personal preference. I did not enjoy 5. I thought it was 5 is the tipping point to where the series decided to go way more action as opposed to horror. That was the shift in the tone of the series. And that's what led to 6 being bad.
Now, I will say 7 was a great sequel.
7 is phenomenal because they changed everything and focused more on the horror aspects of Resident Evil. And it was, while they still kept some of the over-the-topness in later parts of the game.
That intro, though, whew, chilling.
Yeah, 7 was really good. Definitely, PT changed horror in a lot of good ways, and it affected Resident Evil 7 the most, and that was fantastic.
I heard that the game has a VR mode, and I cannot imagine playing through the entire thing that way.
Well, that's how a lot of the first videos surfaced of it was like a VR demo.
Yeah. But no, I mean, 6, is regarded bad, but again, the story of Leon I thought was all right. 5 as a whole, again, like I said, it just kind of changed. There was nothing horrific about it. I wasn't really, no part of me ever felt scared. It was just all action. Chris is like buffer than The Rock, and it was so absurd. I really it made me put a bad taste in my mouth for the series. So that's why I would say Resident Evil 5 is worse in my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. It really was, especially on subsequent playthroughs with the New Game Plus. It's like nothing mattered anymore.
Resident Evil always got more ridiculous on subsequent playthroughs. Like New Game Plus was designed for that for Resident Evil. You can do that in any of them. So I mean that isn't the bad part for me. It was just the initial story and the narrative and how the game played and just the way they changed the genre. It wasn't a horror game anymore. It was just an action game.
No, that's fair.
Now you're talking about bad sequels. Let's look at the Final Fantasy franchise.
Uh-oh.
Whoa.
Are those sequels, though?
They're not sequels.
Final Fantasy X-2.
Hey. I'm going to defend part of 10-2.
Part of 10-2.
The story is not great. But I don't think the story of 10 is that great, honestly.
No, me neither. The gameplay's good in 10.
I think it's kind of I love the gameplay mechanics in 10-2. Actually, I love the dress system. Like, I think that's fantastic. I think that's one of the better qualities of the game. It's
ridiculous. It's over the top, but it's so fluid and well managed and put together that it is a good. But there's nothing compelling me to get through the game other than, hey, what other outfits can I get to make them look skimpy in?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of fan service in the game itself, but I don't think the story is really that much worse than 10. I think it's on a pretty hard level. Now, what? No, never mind.
Uh-oh.
I was going to say something about 13, but 13.2 is way better than 13.
How about 13.3?
Again,
Lightning
was a lot of
Returns?
fun. It was a lot of fun. They kind of did the dress mechanic with lightning.
Yeah, they did.
I think gameplay wise, it was a blast. Story is convoluted and ridiculous.
I was running through the 13 series, and I enjoyed the first one to a point. I enjoyed the second one again to a point. I even got the true ending of the second one, which was really disappointing. And then I started playing 13, and they completely changed the formula. You know, combat became real time instead of turn based, which threw me off.
Spoiler alert!
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that was
not necessarily
fun.
Anything wrong with that. But then they also implemented a time limit on your gameplay, which again pulled me out of it a bit. Though I hear it's not as tight as it might seem. It just intimidated me as someone coming directly from the previous games. So
wait, a time limit?
Yeah, there's a time limit.
It basically does Majora Mask.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, eventually you gain the ability to reset it and try again. But I never got that far because the new mechanics changed the formula so much that I wasn't interested in playing that anymore. I thought it would be more of the same.
Man, Toll.
You know what? Now that I've had a break from it and I've researched other opinions on the topic, I'm going to go back and play it eventually.
I mean, if you're going to get technical, 13.2 is wildly different from 13. Its gameplay mechanics are so different. They changed each sequel.
Yeah, but the second one I feel was more manageably different. This one, everything changed.
It's different, but I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that dramatic. Granted,
I don't think it's...
I think I play a little more variety of games than you.
Well, that may be so, but that's mostly because I haven't really been introduced to all the same genres.
Let me introduce you, Toll. I will
You're
introduce you to so
welcome
many
to do
genres.
that. Hey, we can have another podcast like the anime one. Go ahead.
Well, before we do that, I had a hard time picking a worst sequel of all time.
Okay.
I had to pick two of them because I couldn't figure out which one I thought was worse.
Okay.
and it was Star Wars Battlefront 2, the newest one that came out.
Okay.
A lot of people hated that.
And Duke Nukem Forever.
I never played Duke Nukem.
Never played it either.
I've
heard terrible things about Forever.
I have watched gameplay of both of them, and I see solid mechanics in Battlefront, but the loot box system kind of breaks it.
Well, so the reason why I had a hard time choosing between the two of them is they've both, I think, got aspects in them that could make them the worst sequel of all time. But with Battlefront 2, it was basically the lack of everything that made the previous Battlefronts amazing, which was the story, the game modes, the adding in the loot boxes, adding in some of the issues with maps and some of the characters.
The first remake of Battlefront on the PS4 also didn't have a story mode, right?
Well, isn't that Battlefront 2?
No, the first.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of Battlefront.
2 did have a story, actually.
No, sorry, I'm thinking of Battlefront then. When the most recent remake of Battlefront.
Yeah, that one was extremely disappointing for me.
Well, Battlefront 2 does have a story,
the other versions.
Yeah, sorry, Battlefront 2 I wouldn't consider the worst one. I would consider it was Battlefront.
Well, Battlefront wouldn't be a sequel then. That's a reboot.
Oh shoot, that's right.
And it would be
no, so I'm going to stick with Battlefront 2 because it was still pretty bad.
Okay.
But then with Duke Nukem Forever, it took so long for it to come out, and it was just sent from one developer to the next or whatever shenanigans happened with it, and then when it finally came out, it was a flaming pile of garbage.
Yeah,
set ablaze on top of a turd.
I'll say this: if you didn't follow any of its history and you just picked it up blind, you'd probably find an enjoyable game.
You would find it enjoyable in how bad of a game it was.
Is it like campy bad, or is it just hard to play bad?
All of the above. It still has kind of the similar mechanics of like the old styled games with like aiming and controls, and it's just, it should have come out 10 years before it did, and then it would have been a below average game.
Wow.
Yeah, I read a lot.
That's a harsh review.
Yeah, it's not great from what I've read. I've never played it. I actively avoided it just because.
Now I want to play it just to see what all the fuss is about. You should.
You need to experience it at least once.
Oh, man. If anyone wants to gift me that on my channel, I can't afford it right now, but I will play it.
So, I think they spent more time on all of the gimmicks in the game than they did on the game itself.
You know what I loved, though,
at the
right
beginning,
after it came out, was someone used the whiteboard to make like a photorealistic Commander Shepard.
Did they?
Yeah.
There were so many great things.
I mean, it wasn't photorealistic. It was, there was only like 4 colors there, the black, the red, the yellow, and the blue. But still, it looked so good.
See, but like they had so many dumb little things in it where you could like go in, like you could pee in the urinal, you could pick up turds and throw them, and there were
gimmicks like that in all the other Duke Nukem games. I loved those when I was a kid. But then again, there's the key word: when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was, and the tough part is they had a lot of different things they did throughout the game that changed kind of the mechanics where you'd get like shrunk down to a tiny size, and I think you'd like drive around like a little RC car or something like that. And it was just, they had so many different little changes and things that happened throughout the game that just,
there was no focus, I'm guessing.
I don't think so. I don't know.
It was consistency.
It sounds to me like my main complaint with Final Fantasy 13. There was too many mechanics with not enough focus on any one of them.
I disagree.
It just wasn't.
I'm sorry, but at the 10-hour mark in 13, they introduced you to a mech, gave you a tutorial how to ride the thing that lasted almost the entire sequence, and then it never happened again.
What about Kingdom Hearts 3? They do
Haven't played it.
Similar thing.
Haven't played it.
They do a very similar thing in a lot of Kingdom Hearts, actually. They have
I will say Square sometimes gets their
randomly and never use it again.
Square sometimes gets their head stuck on their ass when it comes to mechanics, but they do produce good games other than that.
Now, you want to talk about a bad sequel. Toll wants to knock Final Fantasy Lightning Returns. Final Fantasy VII Dirge of Cerberus is a terrible sequel.
I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it's good. I'm not even saying it's comparable to the original. But I enjoyed the game as a standalone game.
Wasn't it like an entirely different game? It wasn't like a typical Final Fantasy game?
It was a third-person shooter.
Yeah, it was a third-person shooter starring Vincent.
Yeah, you played as Vincent, who is the
running around calm, I think,
Fantasy
for most
VII.
of it. He was an optional character, even.
Yeah, he's optional in 7. But he became a fan favorite, and after Advent Children, they released Dirge of Cerberus, which in the timeline takes place 1 year after Advent Children. I was so hyped to get that game and play it because, you know, I was in love with Final Fantasy VII my entire life. As a kid, I'm like, this is so cool and everything. And then as I tried to play it again as an adult, because, you know, I went through, I played the game, I played Crisis Core, I watched Advent Children. I'm like, I'm going to play Dirge of Cerberus again. And I hated every minute of it.
Advent Children?
It was just so bad.
Yeah, a movie.
Yeah, the movie.
I know Advent Children is a movie. Is that a Final Fantasy VII movie?
Yeah.
It takes place after the movie. Or, I mean, after the game.
Oh.
It's 2 years
what
after
am I
the
thinking
game.
of?
I don't know.
thinking.
Although I found a new fun thing to do, and it's when someone's a really big fan of Final Fantasy VII.
I'm thinking of Spirits Within. I got a wire across my head.
I really like that movie.
That movie's so bad. It's not good.
It's not a very good movie. It's not a very good story. It's enjoyable enough.
I like the story. I liked everything about it.
Well, you're welcome to your opinion.
My new favorite thing to do with people that are huge fans of Final Fantasy VII is talk to them about, like, hey, you know, I really liked Final Fantasy VII, but I'm surprised about what happened with it. Advent Children was so good, and then the quality of the game Final Fantasy VII is just shit compared to it. Did they just lose funding? And so you play it off as if Advent Children came out first, and then Final Fantasy VII was just garbage based off of it, and it's just fantastic. They explode.
Yeah, who explodes?
Oh,
who have you done this with?
Two kids at work.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, Reddit's a great place for this.
Yes.
It's a new hobby of mine.
I know you well enough to not let it affect me.
Although, best thing about Final Fantasy VII is finishing the game and knowing that you don't have to play it anymore.
Yeah, that would be the best thing about it.
Just kidding. I actually really like the game. I didn't think I was going to, but
well, that just proves
it's got
that
a great
story. This just proves that, as usual, you're wrong.
No, I never said I never said the game was going to be terrible and bad. I just said
you thought you wouldn't enjoy it, and as usual,
because
you're
the hype
wrong.
was so.
I only get hyped about good things though, Spen.
Maybe.
And I only ever get hyped about good things. And if I get hyped about something,
don't.
Yes, I do. If I get hyped about something bad, I admit that it's bad right off the bat.
All right, I want you to name all the things you've been hyped about, and I'm going to tell you which ones are bad.
Speaking about getting hyped about something bad, Sonic 06.
Toll pulled that off a list.
What did he say?
I don't have a list. Sonic 06 is terrible. Sonic 06 was supposed to be like there's a list. I don't do any research. I have this stuff in my head.
Oh.
No, Sonic 06 was supposed to be like relaunching the series, at least as far as the 3D Sonic franchise went, trying to make it more appealing to the original audience. No, Sonic 06 was
Which is the one where you're skateboarding down the city.
Good.
Is that technically about Sonic a sequel then?
It is.
Is it a sequel? You just said it was rebooting the franchise.
It's not a sequel then.
Yeah.
Well, it's tough because a sequel has to be a continuation, not just
I know that all of them have like a connected story. I'm not entirely certain how.
I mean,
well, you know what? No one's going to argue with me that Sonic 06 was shit.
I don't know. I've never really played any of the Sonic games. So
let me give you a brief synopsis of the first half hour of Sonic 06. Introductory cutscene. Photorealistic people. Cartoon hedgehog. 2-minute loading screen. 15-second cutscene. 2-minute loading screen. 5 seconds of control on the map. You go up to a character and you press the button to talk to him. 2-minute loading screen.
Maybe that's
3 seconds of conversation. 2-minute loading screen.
Awesome.
I think that sounds like a lot of fun. I
mean, if you could manage to cut out the frickin' load times for everything, it might be fun to play. The story seemed interesting.
Sometimes the cutscenes are long, and it's nice to have a pee break in between the cutscene and the game.
My favorite part of that game was watching NerdQ play it and rage on a complete series online.
That would be good.
It was fun.
He's got some. Oh,
what was hilarious was the water in the desert was the sand in the desert was retextured water.
Was it?
Yeah. When you fell into it, you heard a splash.
That's awesome. Amazing.
No, it's
terrible. That's pretty ingenious.
It's very poorly put together.
But did you notice it was water until you heard the splash?
Or
did it look just like sand?
I mean, it rippled and it flowed, but it could have just been like yellow sand, yellow quicksand. I think that's what they were trying to play it off as, but they didn't change the sound effect.
Then I would consider that genius.
They didn't change the sound effect.
Minus the splash.
It was horribly designed.
Maybe that's just the sound that Sonic makes when he hits the ground.
What's worse is that was during an escort mission. He was carrying the photorealistic girl.
Escort missions.
They're so much fun.
They're getting better. Kind of.
So, bad sequels.
Yes.
Actual sequels, right?
Yes, actual sequels.
We were talking about good sequels now?
I mean, we can.
I don't know. It's hard to talk about. There's some sequels. Yeah, there's so many that are just bad. Like Mass Effect Andromeda.
Never played it.
Yeah.
But it's tough because is it a sequel? Not really. It's its own standalone game. So yeah. I don't know if that really counts.
I mean, it's a sequel to the franchise. I mean, that's like saying Second Son is technically can be a standalone game, but it also technically is a sequel. I mean, it's in the same.
But there's
universe.
Nothing about Andromeda that's connected to Mass Effect 1 through 3, I believe.
Nothing. Not one thing.
Except for like the basic premise of you're a dude with a ship and a crew and you can sleep with some of your crew.
That sounds like a connection to me. But no, we can talk about better sequels. I think it's way more fun to talk about awesome games.
Oh yeah.
So,
do you have any exciting sequels to talk about?
Yeah, I've got plenty. One.
I'm going to start off with Breath of the Wild's the sequel to that one. It's going to be amazing. Sorry, please continue, Zio.
It's terrible, Spen.
Let's try and limit this to currently on the market video games.
Link's Awakening.
It could be.
I have no idea. I haven't really played that one.
Well, you should.
It's so bad.
You think Link's Awakening is bad?
It's not bad. No, not Link's Awakening. The Legend of Zelda 2. Isn't that Link's Awakening?
Oh, no. No, that's
Legend
just Zelda 2.
2 is the one where it's like the 2D side scroller.
Yeah.
That's just Zelda 2.
I thought it was called Link's Awakening.
No, Link's Awakening is when he gets washed up on an island. It was originally a Game Boy Advance thing. Or no, a regular Game Boy thing. Link's Awakening is the one that's getting...
Link something. I could have swore it was called Legend of Zelda 2, Link something.
The Adventures of Link.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that one was not very good.
Anyways, but a good one, I would say, probably one of the best sequels ever is going to be Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh, so I thought you were going to go for one that started with a U. That sometimes isn't charted.
Oh, wink. Yes. Uncharted 2 is also one of the best sequels of all time. But it's up there with Uncharted 4. They're kind of tied.
See, I'm going to say 4. 4 is the best one of all of them.
Still haven't played it.
Still go back and forth. I think 4 is better in a storytelling capacity.
And that's what I consider.
I think
that's
2
what I need.
is better for like the scale and like gameplay. I just 2 memories of gameplay sticks with me more in 2. Like I remember more of the level design and more of the game that I played of 2 than I do of 4. I remember the story of 4 more.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Question: can Mario Kart count as a sequel?
Not
the Mario Kart games.
I would say so.
Because they are Mario direct. Kart 2.
I would say yeah. I would say those are sequels.
Okay.
Because they're in a numbered format. I mean, although it's hard to argue, but whatever.
Well, then in that case, I'm also going to say Pokemon Silver is a fantastic sequel.
Yes. Pokemon Silver was great. Although, I don't know if it counts as a sequel. I was going to say, what about like Leaf Green and Fire Red? Those aren't sequels, right? Those are like a reboot.
Silver and Gold are definitely sequels because you can revisit the Kanto region.
Well, yes, I know those are sequels, but I'm saying
that's right.
I actually enjoyed like
he specifically said Pokemon
Green
Silver
and Fire. Oh yeah, I know, but I'm saying I enjoyed Fire Red and Leaf Green
remakes
more.
don't count.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that a remake?
But I guess it's not because it's still isn't it a different story slightly?
It is. You can expand because you can technically go into the same region as Gold and Silver as well.
Can you in Leaf Green and Fire Red?
You get more. I'm pretty sure you can.
I don't remember that.
Well,
it's been so long.
Chronologically,
yeah, it's been a while.
Red, Blue, Yellow came, and then Silver and Gold were next. And Silver and Gold were definitely sequels to the other ones. You played as a different character, but they were connected.
Is Sword and Shield? Can you go to all the other regions in Sword and Shield?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Definitely not the Galar region.
I'm waiting for the one Pokemon game where you can go to all the regions.
It's not going to happen.
And collect 64 badges.
It's not going to happen. And
that would be the ultimate game.
And they've proven it with Sword and Shield, where the guys working on it said that the reason why they haven't, or they've limited the amount of Pokemon, is for balancing. Like, it's hard to add all of them into it, and as well as they're not going to be able to balance things very great if every single Pokemon is in the game.
Well, why not? They've been able to do it every other freaking time.
But now there's even more.
So? Quit being lazy, Pokemon devs.
No, they're not being lazy.
Maybe don't make 900 Pokemon if you can't keep up with the balance.
Yeah, but they can't make a new Pokemon game without new Pokemon. It doesn't go over well.
Well, yeah, but maybe add like 20 or 30 instead of...
It's called Leaf Green, Fire Red, and
that's not a new Pokemon game. That's a remake.
It's a new Pokemon game.
It was a new game then.
It's a new game.
But it was a remake. And I think that counts differently. If they came out and said, hey, we're making a new Pokemon game, it's going to be called Pokemon Banana Nuts. And then they're like, it's in a brand new region, but there's no new Pokemon in it. It's just all the same ones as before. And people are going to be like, well, what? Why?
Well, if they introduce different mechanics, I'm pretty sure they can get away with it.
They actually kind of did that before with Sun and Moon. They didn't add very many new ones at all, but they did add in the Alola forms of the Pokemon. They had different styles,
no, there
different
were
techniques.
Brand new Pokemon in there.
I said they added some, not as many.
Well, and
for the rest of them, they gave regional forms.
I consider regional forms good enough, I guess. As long as they add a few of the other ones.
Devil May Cry 5!
That game's not out yet, is it?
I don't know. It was good, I think.
Is
Devil May
it
Cry
good?
5.
Because how can it be good if it's not out?
God, I'm thinking... No, not DMC.
You're looking at the wrong lists.
Yeah, see, he's like, I'm not looking at lists.
DMC was a good one.
We're calling
DMC?
you out on it, Toll. He's sweating.
DMC, I think it was a fifth one. I don't remember.
Now he's trying to change the subject.
DMC? You mean the reboot of Devil May Cry?
I'm thinking sequels, and all that are coming up are reboots in my mind.
Pull up the right list.
Toll, you gotta close that tab.
Close the window. Pull up Google and type in lists of best sequels, and then there you go.
Don't worry, Toll. I have my own list as well.
I don't have a list. I'm pulling these out of my head.
I made my list, though.
Actually, you know what? Here's one. Definitely a sequel. Definitely highly acclaimed by people when it came out. Deus Ex: Mankind Divided. That's Deus Ex.
I didn't know that one was a sequel.
That's Deus Ex 2.
Until a little while ago, when we talked about it on one of the previous podcasts.
Was pretty good.
It's on my to-play list.
To playlist.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's getting bigger.
Yeah, that's going to get way too big.
Yeah, I'm at over 600 games on my Steam wish list now.
Another sequel, I'm going to hop back to bad, would be the newest Star Ocean game they released, Star Ocean 5. It wasn't very good.
That's a series I've really wanted to get into, though. Why wasn't 5 good?
It just, you don't get enough content. The characters aren't fleshed out well enough. Like, it was very disappointing, I guess. Like, it's not necessarily bad in its gameplay. Like, it's fun, but I don't know. Star Ocean 3 sets such a huge standard. Like, it's the best Star Ocean game. Star Ocean 4, though, wasn't as well received. They did re-release it as an international version, which improved a lot of things about it, which made it better, a lot of fun. But Star Ocean 5, it just, I don't know. They just did less and less work. And with 5, it was just so short. The characters weren't developed. They weren't good, compelling characters.
Hearing you say that, I know of another game that fits in that description perfectly.
Xillia 2.
Tales of Symphonia 2.
Oh. Tales is really good at making a first game, but their sequels are bad.
I never knew there was a sequel for Symphonia.
Yes. There's a lot of fans that would hopes that could have stayed that way for you. The sequel basically was in the same world, but it followed a different story with 2 new characters, and you kind of got to involve a bunch of the other previous characters in it as well. But the two new characters, it kind of felt like, I don't remember which Final Fantasy game it was, Zio, but you said there was one of them where they basically made the game and then some guy was just like, no, it needs this dude character in here. And then they just added him in after. And that's kind of what it feels like they did with Tales of Symphonia 2, where they were like, just like, all right, let's make this game. We need two main characters. We'll make them later. We'll just make the game first.
As you're describing that, it's funny because it sounded just like Exilia 2. So they make two brand new characters in Exilia 2. And then you get to have the old cast with you, but it's not the same. They're not the focus of the story. They're just there to have fun and party, apparently. And
I'm okay with that, but the main characters have to be good. They need something that sucks you in for it.
I'm okay with introducing new characters too, but that's not why you play it. No one really plays the sequel of a certain game to play with new characters. I mean, you can add them to the roster, but you want to focus on the characters that made the first game better.
Not necessarily. In the case of Watch Dogs 2, the second game was leaps and bounds better than the first game because
it's also different when the first game is bad.
Hey, we're talking about good sequels here. Who cares about the original?
Well, I'm not saying Watch Dogs 2 isn't better. It definitely is better, but I'm saying, like, when you take a great game, you focus on why it's great. Those games are great because of their characters and their story, not because of this new character. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Add that new character in, but don't make them the only focus of the game. That's what the Tales series does wrong.
I don't know. The Tales of games, they were always like a huge part of my childhood growing up. And because it was so much fun just to devote time to it. But ever since I became an adult, I just haven't really played them.
You know what was great in a similar way to the Tales games, if you've ever managed to play it? It was first on the Dreamcast, but eventually came to the GameCube, was
Phantasy Star Online.
Skies of Arcadia, actually.
I haven't played that one.
No? You play as a freaking sky pirate.
A sky pirate?
Yes, in a world where it's just a bunch of islands floating in the sky. And
wasn't there an anime made off of that?
I don't know, but possibly.
I think so. I watched one.
It's not a sequel, though, so I probably shouldn't be talking about it. But still, it's a fantastic game. If you have a GameCube or an emulator and ROMs, get it. Play it. It's fun.
Another fun sequel. So Final Fantasy 12 was a really good game. I really enjoyed Final Fantasy 12, but they did have a sequel that came out in the Game Boy Advance. It was called Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings.
That's that MOBA one, right?
No,
not a MOBA, but it was. I played that, I think.
It's a real-time strategy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, but I was bad at it.
The story's kind of but the gameplay is so much fun because if you're a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics, then you would love this game because the mechanics are essentially exactly the same. And it's in the same universe as 12.
And Tactics.
And Tactics, because it's all on Ivalice.
That one was so cool because I don't remember, did you buy units or did you set them up ahead of time and then you like assign them to heroes?
Yes.
I think you spent points ahead of time. I just remember
having so much fun with the game and loving every aspect of it.
Yeah, because you'd have like different trails that you'd have to send guys up to like capture points and then eventually like push your way down. It was kind of like the start of MOBAs.
Yeah, kind of, but
although there are other games that were like that one before.
Existed.
Now I think so. I got a game that I think a lot of people would argue with me about, but I enjoyed. Fable 3.
I didn't play any of the Fable.
You didn't fit?
No.
Of course not. A lot of people kind of poo-poo it because it sort of dumbed down the mechanics, but I really enjoyed the story and the humor in it.
I think it did some good things, and then I think it had some other things in it that people focused too much on. And because there were options to remove the stuff or some of the mechanics that people focused on that said it made it really bad. Like that glowing trail.
Yeah.
Your quest trail. Because if you didn't disable it, you pretty much spent most of the game just staring at these gold sparkly line so that just kind of kept reappearing in front of you so you could follow them.
Man, I thought that was a thing since the first one, but I might be misremembering.
No, that was introduced into the third one.
But in any case, my favorite thing about the entire game still sticks in my head in this day. There's a part where, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but your main character and someone else are stranded somewhere, let's say. And the part of that sticks out in my head the most is they're walking along just saying, let me just say one thing. Balls!
Yeah.
It just yells it out to the heavens, and it cracked me up.
It's got a lot of really good humor in it.
Speaking of good sequels, Borderlands
2.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
I don't know,
yeah.
I think it's pretty bad.
Well, you're
Why is
welcome
that?
to your opinion, even if it's wrong.
Why is that,
It's
Zio?
just terrible because it's not third-person shooter.
Oh, that's right. I forgot how dumb your reason is.
It's terrible because he can't go into third person.
Because he's like, if they spend so much time on these characters, I should be able to see them.
I don't think it's terrible, but I do think it would make the game better.
Well, you're just not a... Well, but don't you love first-person shooters?
Yeah.
They spend all that time and money on character models in those. Don't you think they'd be improved if you could see them?
They don't spend that much time on character models. Not enough to create personalities. I mean, in all the Call of Duties, there's only like 3 characters that stick out to me in any Call of Duty game, and they're all in the same Call of Duty game.
Well, that's because any Call of Duty protagonist is sort of like a character in Game of Thrones. You shouldn't get attached.
Not true. Call of Duty Modern Warfare series has some great characters.
Yeah, but you still probably shouldn't get attached.
I wouldn't have enjoyed Borderlands or Borderlands 2 as much if it was in third person, because it would have changed the perspective of how you were viewing the firefights and the fighting, and I think that would have affected things greatly.
Yeah, the frenetic action would not have worked nearly as well in a third-person camera, I think.
I don't know. I think it could. I mean, third person, like...
It's got to be a mod for that somewhere.
Probably.
I think it'd work out just fine, honestly. I think it'd be possibly more enjoyable. Just because, like I said, I mean, the whole point is you love the characters you play, right? So why not?
Zio, there's a third person mod.
Is there?
We're going to download it and we're going to try it out.
I'm down then. I'm 100% down.
Which game?
All right. Thanks for listening to the Son of a Geek podcast.
maybe that's what we can do for Gameplays Games. We can play Borderlands.
Which
in
one?
Third person.
Which one? Which one's the mod
Borderlands.
for?
I think we should do the second one.
Okay, we'll do the second
No,
one.
I mean, which one is the mod for? Is it for the second one?
Borderlands 2.
All right.
I'm sure there's
Cool.
one for the first Borderlands
Then
as well.
let's-
I only
let's-
looked up Borderlands 2.
Let's do that. I'm down.
Okay.
I'm 100% down for
Have
it
you
to be in
guys
third person.
played the new DLC, the free one? Because we could just play that.
I honestly never beat Borderlands 2.
Oh, I've only got the first one. Dang it, I gotta get the second.
Ah,
I mean, I have it on
PS.
I have it on PS4, but you can't mod that. And I don't think they
No,
have
I don't-
crossplay.
Here, let me check. I might have a key for it on Humble Bundle.
Well, I'm going to have to buy it anyways. So.
Oh, you don't have it either?
No.
Well, I'm checking anyways.
Okay.
So how's life?
Great. Oh, just hanging out.
I have Borderlands. I have a key for Borderlands 2, and then a bunch of expansions. Necromancer, Psycho, Ultimate
I can't
Vault
imagine
Hunter.
Borderlands 2 being that expensive on Steam.
It's $40
it's
for
like-
the Game of the Year pack, which has pretty
There's
much
a
all
lot
the
of
DLC.
though.
Okay.
But Zio doesn't need that for what we're doing.
Yeah, I won't need that. I'll just need to get the game.
He's not even going to play all the DLC.
Yeah, probably won't.
I still haven't done Tiny Tina's Place. It's like Dungeons and Dragons themed.
That's a
Oh,
revival.
and she was my
That sounds
favorite
fun.
character.
I've
sounds
got
fun.
to revisit that game. There's so much that I haven't done.
We're going to revisit it, Toll. Jeez.
Yeah, maybe
Calm
not the
down.
DLC though, because someone doesn't.
We might. Who knows? If it's in third person and I fall in love.
Then the two of us can play it properly, and Zio can play it garbagely.
Or better. See, you're
Or
going to
better.
play in third
We'll
person.
find out.
You're going to
I'm
have
going
that
to.
experience. You're going to find out
going
if it's
to.
better. And right now, if you enjoy it more in third person, you have to admit that Final Fantasy VII is the greatest game of all time. And that I'm right about everything. That's even better.
You can't force an opinion. Come on, man.
Oh, actually, Zio, that reminds me of something that you've got to record.
God dang it.
for...
I knew it. That's why I changed it so fast. I didn't want to do it.
Well, you've also got to get your video uploaded so we can send it to Mr. Smoked, which he sent me a message like when we started the podcast. He's like, "Hey, what's this about calling me a fart? Are you mad at me?" So I just put yes.
Good. Oh, okay. So, out of all the sequels, what is your favorite sequel of all time?
Favorite sequel of all time?
That's
Yes.
tough.
I got to go with Majora's Mask.
I thought that wasn't a sequel, Toll. That is a
You're-
conversation we had right before this podcast. You're like, Majora's Mask is not a sequel.
I said
Viewers.
it's not technically a connected story, but it is a sequel because it takes the
You
same
did
character.
not say that. You
at a s-
did not say that.
Well,
Sped,
you know
back me
what?
up.
It wasn't recorded, and you have no evidence of that.
I don't need evidence.
Majora's Mask is a direct sequel of the adventures of Link from Ocarina of Time. He's gone in search of his fairy Navi and gets sidetracked by an impish skull kid with a cursed mask. All right?
Ocarina of Time.
I don't care. Anyway.
Just saying, you make corrections when other people say things.
Everybody makes corrections when other people say things. You're just the one making a big deal of it.
I am making a big deal of it because it's a sequel and you said it wasn't before we started. And I just want everyone to know that. Smiley, fact check that, please.
There's no evidence of this. Anyway.
I've got my answer.
Okay.
You guys got yours?
Yeah.
I was trying to talk about it, but Z kept talking over me.
Well, did you figure out which one?
Yeah, he said Majora's Mask, even though he said it wasn't a sequel before
Shut
the podcast started.
I did not say it.
Well, technically we said it wasn't a sequel during the podcast too at the beginning.
I said Ocarina of Time is not a sequel. It could be considered a sequel by being something with the Zelda name, but I don't go by that standard. I go by if it is chronologically connected and linked with common characters. And Majora's Mask is linked with common characters.
Bad outside.
Kind of. What's happening outside?
I was just had a loud motorcycle outside my apartment.
All right. Someone else talk.
There's a lawnmower
going
outside.
Anyways, go ahead, Toll. Majora's Mask. It's an awesome sequel. Tell us about it.
No, I'm done.
No, he already did.
Okay, cool.
I'm done.
No.
All right, Spen, what's your sequel?
Okay, so this game, I feel so bad now, Toll. So the reason why I'm going to say this is the best sequel of all time is this is the game that inspired me to start making my should use. It's the game. It's the very first game I ever finished playing, and I was so in love with it from start to finish that I actually had to sit down and write out my thoughts on the game, and I've never done that before in my entire life. And it's Uncharted 4.
Uncharted 4 is so good.
When I finished that game, I couldn't comprehend everything that had gone on with it and the ending and the beginning, and just it was such a wild ride the entire way through that I sat down, pulled out my notebook, and I just started writing out a review for it.
We're gonna have to do the Uncharted series for our soon-to-be video series we're gonna start.
Oh, it's gonna be good.
Have you played the Uncharted games?
The first 3.
Started playing them with his wife.
I played the first 3. I haven't touched 4 yet.
Oh man, Toll 4 so.
I believe
so
you.
Good.
I can't afford to get every awesome game out there. All right.
See,
do it anyways, Toll.
Give me money and I will.
All right,
Uncharted
sell your
4
kidney. You'll get plenty of money.
I can't do that. My black market dealer got arrested 2 weeks ago.
Damn. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
I do
Uncharted
have
4.
a less controversial game. Whenever.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish my thought here.
Never.
Uncharted 4 is so good of a game that I wanted to play it again immediately, but I held off from replaying it or any of the other sequels for as long. I'm waiting off as long as possible so that I can replay through them all again and have just that fantastic feeling of all the games. Because if I play them again too soon, it's just going to be rehashing the same memories and thoughts.
You can never experience it for the first time again, but over time you may forget enough.
But I can get it as close as possible to experiencing it for the first time again.
I need to play it again too, because Uncharted 4 is the only Uncharted I haven't gotten a platinum for.
Uh-oh.
Which is a shame.
I'm disappointed in you.
Me too.
So is your mother.
Yeah, she is. Go ahead, Toll. Tell us about your other game that is less controversial, that I'll find controversy for.
You guys ever play Jak and Daxter?
Yeah!
No. Jak 2. Jak 2 is phenomenal.
Is it better than 3, though?
I think Jak 2 is better than Jak 3.
Okay.
Really?
That's just my own opinion, because Jak 3, the story seemed kind of scattered. As far as gameplay and mechanics go, Jak 3 is amazing, but it's just a bit scattered.
Now you're making me think of the Sly Cooper series.
But Jak 2, you take a basic like Crash Bandicoot style game and you add in guns and you add in GTA style, car theft and chases. Only they're flying cars, and then you add in like the stealth mechanics from Metal Gear to a certain smaller extent, and it's mission based, but it's scattered all over this huge open world. and it's a hell of a good time.
Oh, you sold me on this game.
I'd like them. They should reboot the Jak series. That'd be really cool.
They actually have the collection on PS4 if you want to try it out. You don't even have to play the first game to enjoy it, although actually, no, there's not even that much story in the first game. There's literally 5 minutes of cutscene that you can watch on YouTube that would catch you up to the entire thing. But you don't even need that because the intro to Jak 2 sets it all up perfectly.
Oh, it's awesome.
It's a hell of a game. It really is. You should try it out. Jak 3,
I'm
I'm
gonna
less
have
sold
to do
on.
that.
It's good.
What's it on?
PlayStation.
Can I get it on the PS4?
I just said
That's what he said, the collection of the PS4.
Here, let me Google that for you.
No, it's fine. Sorry, I was just looking at Discord right now. We've gotten a fair amount of votes for some games for a games night tonight.
Oh,
sweet.
Fun.
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people want to play Cards Against Humanity featuring the game official pack.
Jak and Daxter bundle, PS4,
cut that out,
$40.
Cut that out. I mean, I would love to play Cards Against Humanity.
Sure, you would.
See, the same way you feel about Cards Against Humanity, I feel the same way against Town of Salem.
Okay, that's fair.
I just.
But spend the Jak bundle is on PS4 for $40, and I don't think there's any other way to get the individual games on it. So,
if only it was on the Switch, then I'd have already played it.
Now they are all worth playing, but 2 is definitely the best.
Can we just talk about how everything should be on the Switch?
I mean, everything should be portable these days. Yeah, sure.
I'm just trying to stall from Kazio because he's got this look on his face like he's really excited to talk about his game. I'm just trying to. No, you're not.
I'm patiently waiting.
I'm done talking about Jak.
Take it away then, Zio.
Oh,
thanks for listening to the SUNOVAGEEK podcast, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
All right. So, the game I'm excited to talk about, probably my favorite sequel of all time, is BioShock Infinite.
That
I've heard lots of good things about it.
I love that game so freaking much.
It kind of fell apart toward the end for me, but it was a really good game.
I disagree. I think the story is phenomenal in every aspect, even though it copied Infamous.
It even had the very first side character that was praised for being useful and helpful and fun to have.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Elizabeth is so useful. She's so wonderful. Great voice acting. They did
such a good job with her.
That game is so amazing in every aspect. Like, the voice acting is stellar. The soundtrack is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time in a video game. The story is really good. The color palette is gorgeous. The art style's phenomenal. There's everything about this game that is a plus.
It's breathtaking, so good. And as the great man once said.
Yes, it is breathtaking. Now,
no,
BioShock...
you're breathtaking.
Aw, thanks, Keanu. Now, BioShock was a good game. I enjoyed the story of BioShock. I did not enjoy the world. Like, I enjoyed the concept of the world being underwater. I did not like the dark aesthetic. I felt like it hit a lot of the art style. I felt like it could have been beautiful. It could have done a lot more with it. But unfortunately, I kind of think it lacks a lot there. BioShock 2, it was alright. But BioShock Infinite, it was out to prove that you can make a dark game with a bright color palette, and it did so very successfully. They got stellar voice acting cast, stellar story, even holds up towards the end. And then it also, I think it got Shooter of the Year.
I didn't catch that at first.
It got Shooter of the Year when it came out too. I think in 2013. Yeah, because
only there was a third-person mod for you.
Actually, I think that game works great in first person. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful game.
Yes, it is. I quite agree.
Now, I never played it.
You really should, Spen.
Well, I never got through BioShock.
You don't have to play the first one to.
Yeah, but you know how much I really love those kinds of games.
They don't have a continuous story.
Actually, BioShock Infinite has DLC that directly relates to the first BioShock.
Okay, they may have retroactively linked the story, and it might be built in that it's an alternate universe or whatever, but they do not have a directly linked story.
No, yeah, you can't play them as completely separate games.
Would you so kindly play BioShock Infinite?
Yes.
Oh, great. Now I have to.
That was one of the coolest things that I heard about. Spoiler
alert for a 2-decade-old game. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I say that because I hate spoilers. When people spoil things on me, I want to shoot them in the face.
I don't like spoilers either. Yeah. They cost so much and don't really do anything for my car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, that was a little aggressive.
I feel like we're losing focus here.
One of the best prequels, though, is Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core.
That was a good one.
Is it now?
That is a phenomenal prequel.
It really was.
I really, 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 really wish they would remaster it for the PS4.
They're not going to do it.
I know they won't.
Like, people kept saying they're never going to do Final Fantasy VII.
Well, they're not.
It'll only take them 20 years.
This is just the most well done and elaborate April Fool's joke we've ever seen in the history of video games.
That would be awful.
How great would that be?
I would cry. I would cry so hard.
What if the April Fool's joke was that it was an elaborate April Fool's joke? How amazing would that be?
That would be pretty.
Where they revealed that it was all just a well-placed and well-worked-on joke, only for you to find out later that it's actually coming out.
I sense a disturbance in the Force.
I would love for them to push it back to April 1st, and then no one believes it. That way, when I go to the midnight release, I'll get the game anyways.
Like millions of gamers suddenly cried out in anguish.
We're gonna have to remember that. That'd be a great thing if we could do that one of these times for like a new season start. We'd be like, guys, we're pushing back the season
to April 1st. People are like, no, you're not. And then on April 1st,
and then we actually will.
That'd be great.
That'd be fantastic,
man.
Any other sequels you guys are wanting to talk about?
I mean, there's so many good ones.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Oh,
I know I already said it.
I don't consider that a sequel.
Can we talk about something that just recently came out? Can we talk about Five Nights at Freddy's VR?
No.
That game is fantastic.
I was never a Five Nights at Freddy's fan.
You don't need to be a fan of the older games. This is everything realized in a fully 3D virtual reality environment. It is.
Well, you know I don't play horror games.
I can, fine. You know what? I would say as VR, it probably would be pretty awesome.
It's fantastic. It's so incredible. It's visceral.
VR. Didn't Markiplier get his mom to play it? I don't know if he got his... I mean, I know he got his mom to play a few of the original games, but the Help Wanted VR just recently came out, so I don't think he's had time to get anyone else. No, that wasn't it then.
But it's so visceral, and they do such a great job with scale being in there, and it's really difficult to describe.
It's not a sequel, Toll.
It is a sequel. It is a direct sequel. It actually, at the beginning of it, says these other games in the series were made by a deranged indie developer trying to give the company a bad name. So it directly references all the other games as something that happened before. So it is a direct chronological sequel.
Suck it, Zio. All of them are actually sequels. They all kind of work together.
I know they're all sequels. I was saying the VR I didn't think was a sequel.
No, it's linked. They link it as a sequel.
It links to the past. It's a whole circle we've gone now.
Five Nights at Freddy's 5R?
No, it's actually every single Five Nights at Freddy's game made so far recreated in VR.
So it's not a sequel.
It is a sequel. It is a sequel.
Remake.
Because it's also got more to it than just that, and it's got its own story hidden behind scenes in that.
If that's a sequel, then so is Fire Red and Leaf Green.
No.
The difference being that this calls out the previous games and says this is a recreation of the events outlined in those games to show that the company has a sense of humor to rebrand themselves.
If we recreated next to nothing, the whole first season Once Beyond came out, but we added 3 episodes to it, would that be a sequel?
Okay, you know what? If you look into it, you'll see that I'm right, but I'm done arguing this point here.
Those are OVA episodes, Ben.
You guys are being difficult just for the sake of being difficult. I recognize that. I appreciate the humor. I'm done arguing.
I was legitimately asking.
We like to argue ridiculous semantics that no one cares about.
Yeah. And then when Toll loses, he pretends he's just leaving the conversation.
It's true.
I admit when I lose. This one I am right on, and I'm not arguing anymore.
Okay, sure. Yeah. You're allowed to have an
that's
opinion.
That's all the time we have for the Son of a Geek podcast.
No. Before we go, there's one last sequel that I should have mentioned.
How many times do I have to end this before it ends?
Get over it.
It's like the
Persona 5. It's such a great sequel.
I've
never played the Persona games.
It's amazing. You need to. Persona 4 was the best Persona game, but now 5 is even better.
Haven't played any of them.
Thanks for listening to the Son of a Geek podcast. That's all the time we have now, so we're gonna... Oh, you know what I didn't do?
Didn't record.
Hey, how about that screenshot in the background, guys?
Yeah, did you see that screenshot in the background? Thanks, Toll, for sending a screenshot. Okay, bye. Do you have anything else you guys would like to add?
I have